Welcome to There is a Method to the Madness. My name is Rob Maxwell. I'm an exercise physiologist and personal trainer. I'm the owner of Maxwell's Fitness Programs, and I've been in business for the past 28 years. Welcome to Monday, March 28th. Man, oh man, is this year flying by. Today, I'm going to go over a question asked to me on the internet. It was kind of a statement led into a question about how to handle these types of situations, and that is, it was brought up about runners and endurance athletes doing strength training, and strength training folks that are traditional strength training athletes or workout folks doing cardio, and how it's kind of assumed because they're fit in one area that they're going to be fit and advanced in another area, and how that can be a stumbling block for them getting into what they should get into, which is both sides if we want to be fit and healthy. And I think that is an absolute great topic. I have experience on it. I have knowledge on it. So I want to dive right in. First thing I want to talk about is they are very different. It's a different type of activity, typically different genetics when you're talking about the high end of both. And it absolutely is a false assumption that just because you're good at one, that you automatically are good at the other or know what you're doing. That simply is not true. So when you're a runner, let's just take a runner. You can throw cyclist in there, long distance swimmer, triathlete, anybody into that group. There's no question that, and we're talking one that's experienced. Maybe they do 5Ks, maybe they do marathons, regardless of the distance, you can be experienced and elite no matter what distance you pick for running. So let's say you're experienced and elite, most likely, not elite as in professional, but very experienced. You know what you're doing. You're constantly doing 5Ks and you're happy with your times and all that. So, that type of person. So most likely you're pretty thin, most likely, or you're at least on the better side of body composition. You have good endurance, meaning you can go out and obviously accomplish your running tasks that you want to do, or cycling. But it also means that maybe when you're at a theme park, God forbid if you ask me, or more preferably down on the beach walking with friends and family, then you're the one kind of leading the charge because you have a lot of endurance. That's how you look, that's how you roll, so to say. Now, let's say you're a strength athlete, like, again, we're not talking professionals here. It's just what you do. You're known for it, maybe where you work. You're pretty strong. You have pretty hard muscles, and people can see your muscles, You're wearing a t-shirt, they can see your biceps, and, who knows, maybe do strength competitions and things like that. So you look pretty fit as well. And you're the person that when people say, hey, do you think you can help me move, You're the person they call because they assume, and probably rightly so, that you can lift the couch and the chair with very little problem. So you're fit. Here's where the mistake lies for people. They think, well, she looks fit. She could probably get on our corporate cup run team and do really well because they look lean. Well, that is very much a false assumption. And probably more common is the person who runs a lot, again, whether they're your 5K specialist or they do the marathons and the triathlons, people think if they start going to the gym, they're going to follow this person around because they're a health nut or a fitness person, so they automatically know what they're doing. And that's a false assumption too. Just because you look fit doesn't mean you're fit at everything. There are all different types of fitness, which is why So the big two is cardiorespiratory fitness and strength training. Or strength. I know there's other forms, and I'll say them now. There's body composition. That's very, very critical. There's flexibility. That's very, very critical. There's muscular endurance. That goes along with muscular strength. There's also agility, reaction time, coordination, balance. There's speed. There is power. There's all these aspects of fitness. There's 11 to be exact. All of them have their place, but strength and cardio have the biggest place because they are most concerned with your overall fitness, of course, which is what we're trying to accomplish. And they have the greatest impact on your health. Now, muscular strength and endurance are typically lumped into the same category, and we call it muscular fitness. That's fine. So muscular fitness and cardio are really the two that we should all be doing, and it just kind of so happens that when we are doing those, typically we get into flexibility normally, so that goes along with it. Okay, so we all need to do it. I mean, that's an established thing that I want to get across in this podcast all the time. We all need to do it. We need to encourage and get everybody into it, and one of the things that holds us back sometimes is the fact that a person might be really, really good at one and they might be intimidated to get into the other. Because look, a lot of people who are fit, a lot of people that work out on a regular basis have egos. I mean, we all have some ego. Ego can be good if we keep it under control. Ego can be not so good if we allow it to get out of control. So let's say the ego is more on the side of being a little bit out of control. The person who's a runner who knows they need strength training, because they do. Strength training is one of the best ways to prevent injuries. It keeps your entire body in balance, so the runner doesn't want to just have muscular legs, I would hope. They want to have tone, muscular arms, and upper body as well. So it's got all these benefits for them to get into, but maybe they don't want to get into it because everybody assumes they're fit, which again, shouldn't matter what people think, but we all know it gets to us at times. And so they don't go to the gym because they don't want to look clueless. Or the strength guy, and I was that guy. I was this guy that did a bodybuilding show, and I was 27 years old, and it was in the mid-90s, and no, towards the early 90s, actually. And I was working on my master's degree in exercise physiology, but I wasn't finished yet, and I didn't have nearly the knowledge I have now. And I realized there was more to fitness than just lifting weights. I was telling this story just the other day. When I was preparing for the contest, I basically never did cardio prior to this contest because I lifted weights. I did split routines back then where I'm doing different muscle groups, and I spent a lot of time in the gym, probably 90 minutes to 2 hours of workout after school typically, and I also worked during school, during my college years. So I was pretty busy, and looking back now, I didn't need to spend as much time in the gym, but I didn't know that then. But I absolutely did not do any cardio, We kind of thought cardio was for the wimpy guys, it was just dumb, but it was a part of the culture at the time. So I didn't do it. And then coming up on the show, I knew traditional thinking was, well, you've got to diet down, which I did. And you had to do some cardio, some what we now call long, slow distance, so lower intensity cardio that burns fat. So I met my friend at the gym, and it was in Daytona. And again, this is long before I was owning a gym or a trainer. And we met probably, I don't know, it was either 5 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. before every workout, and we got on the life cycle. And we started at 20 minutes, and then we built our way up to maybe 50 minutes, which back then seemed so long. And today I do something like that as a recovery ride. I'm kind of laughing because it's like, how our perspectives change. But I fell in love with it. I'm like, oh, wow, this is kind of cool. I love to sweat. I love to just kind of sit there and mindlessly pedal. It was kind of like some meditation. He'd join me, and sometimes we'd talk. And We worked out at this gym where you can look down on people working out because it was upstairs. We'd, kind of sit there and just stare at people and, make comments. Who knows? But I really enjoyed it. And, I did the show. I did fine, and that's not the point. But that was my first experience really doing cardio. So after that, it really was like, I like that. And then after doing my show, I was just kind of burned out. I had been doing, even though I only did one show, I was doing bodybuilding style training for years prior to that. And it just seemed like there was more out there in health and wellness. And now at this point, I'm working on my master's in exercise physiology, and everybody, there was one other guy who was more of a lifter guy. Everybody else was doing triathlons when it was very new and running, and including my professors who became my dear mentors and friends. And, I remember Mr. Gergley looking at me once and saying, "Maxwell, nobody cares how much you bench. Let's go for a run," And he drug us all out on this run, during class. And it was like 30 minutes of hell, and he was, at the time, he's in his mid-50s. I'm in my 20s, and, he's just killing us, but he's a great guy, and I got into it, and, I wanted to start. I was like, I already had the introduction with the life cycle toning down for the competition, and then I was burned out, and, here are all these people pushing cardio, so I wanted to jump in. And at this point, I was nowhere near experienced or professional or aware of what I should be doing. So, I had to solicit help of how to get a cardio plan going. How do you learn to run? So I obviously I was in the prime place to do it. I was able to get with a lot of my classmates who were further along the exercise physiology trail than I was, and especially personally, because they were doing stuff and they're like, well, we need this, just like lifting. You need to start out with this, and then you build to this, you build to this. I remember one of my classmates telling me how to start some intervals, and she was, telling me to do what became like the classic track workout, which was warm up and then do 1/4 mile at the track hard, and then the next one easy, next one hard, build up to 8. So I did that. And back then it was big on, we didn't call it like long, slow distance as much as we do now. It was more like over distance, it was called. So go slightly longer than the race you're going to race at a slower intensity, so you get used to endurance. So I was getting it planned out, even though I was very experienced. I was getting it planned out for what I needed to do cardio-wise, because I was super fit, and I'm not being arrogant, but like if you walked into the classroom, you would automatically assume, based on appearance, that I was more fit than anybody in the room, quite frankly, even the runners who were running these crazy times. Why? Because fitness is different. Like, you can look fit and not be fit aerobically. So, but I was clueless with the training plan, and they would run circles around me running wise, but I would look the most fit. So it'd be a false assumption to say, well, why is this guy soliciting advice? He should know. Look at him. It's a total false assumption. And it's also a false assumption to think that, the most ripped person at a race is going to win the race. That rarely happens. And there'll be another podcast on all the different characteristics that will make that up. But it rarely happens. The person who is going to win the race has the most slow twitch muscle fiber, oftentimes very light body weight, tend to be shorter in stature, years and years and miles in their legs. So you can't assume. Fitness doesn't really look any certain way. So, and then the same could be said on the flip side, which it was. So some of my classmates who were doing running and triathlons and stuff get hurt a lot, and they'd say, hey, when I go to the gym, what do you think I should do? And even better, can you take me? It's like, yeah, absolutely. And show them a basic upper body workout, or show them a basic lower body workout that they could benefit from. And so here are these experienced people who were great endurance athletes. Again, we're all in graduate school. We're all into fitness. And I'm showing them their way around the gym, because what got them in the fitness wasn't weight training, it was endurance. What got me into fitness was weight training, and I wanted to learn endurance. So, we're all doing our best to use our best knowledge to help everybody. And I believe that the question asked or the statement asked is great because we need both. We need both. And it's often confusing for people who have run. I know many. That's probably more I know now of runners who are, a little intimidated to get into the gym and start strength training. Now, part of it is myths, part of it is, I don't want to get hurt. It's like, well, you're not going to get hurt, you shouldn't get hurt if you do it right. And again, they don't want to look clueless. And there's all this information out there that is intimidating and basically makes it seem like they have to do so much because they see what these people are posting on Instagram and all this stuff, all these wannabe trainers, even more so wannabe influencers, and the reality is they don't have to do nearly that much. So I will tell them, look, you go to the gym, we do some sort of squat or lunge each workout, do some kind of pull to work on your upper torso pulling muscles like your lats and biceps, some kind of pushing movement. That could be a chest press, a push-up, a bench press, whatever. Some type of accessory. You don't have to do that, but hey, we all want our arms to look good, I think, right? So some sort of bicep and or tricep exercise and some core. And they'll have a foundation for getting stronger in the gym. Their upper body will look much, much, much better. They'll feel better. They'll have some cross training. And it really shouldn't take that long. Volume of training doesn't take that long. The strength training should be the shortest workouts of the week, really, for any type of athletes. If you're doing more than you should, more than, say, a half hour, you're really overtraining. It doesn't take a lot to do it right. And that's even for the bodybuilders. And the same then goes for the strength athletes who absolutely know. And it's almost like a transition, especially for guys. 20s is all about lifting weights and getting swole and having biceps, mostly for the guys. And then all of a sudden they get closer to 30 and they start saying, kind of getting a little fat here. And the doctor says, got some high blood pressure there, pal. And so all of a sudden, this guy says, I should really start to do some cardio. And most likely people think running. Why? It's so convenient. You can do it anywhere. And it's, it absolutely is a great choice. But just because you're fit at one thing doesn't mean you should then go out and run 3 miles because your next door neighbor, Pam, does. Pam runs 3 miles every day. So you go out, you run 3 miles, you barely get through it. You have shin splints for 3 days. You hate it. You never do it again. You would start your running just like you started your weight training back in the day, I assume, where you had some guidance and you started slow and easy and built your way up. For example, I always tell people, look, before you can run, you need to walk. So walk a mile, walk a mile and a half, walk 2 miles, walk 3 miles, then jog a half mile and finish the 3 miles with 2.5 miles of walking. And so on and so on. That's just one example I've used with people. But the point is, you start slow and you build up. Technical terms, we would use what we call the principle of progression, which means you only increase by 10% at a time. That's great too. But the point is, I don't want my lifters to be intimidated to start running. It's okay to admit that you're not a professional at it and you're not experienced. Start slow and get into it. Maybe go to some reputable areas like the American College of Sports Medicine and ACE and IDEA and get some little starter tips would be helpful, and I want my runners to absolutely get to the gym. Don't waste your time trying to follow different people on Instagram in the workouts. Just keep it simple, stupid. And if you really want to keep it simple, stupid, and you can benefit me too, buy my book, There's a Method to the Madness, because actually I put in there a chapter on squat, push, pull, which people really enjoy, which is all about just a very simple way to do a workout, which we use at the gym all the time. Our workouts are based on that principle of squat, push, pull, and then we change in and out, different types, different exercises within that. So, Miss Casey, you asked the question, and it was a great question, and you're absolutely right. And I'm assuming you're asking because you want to get back into both, and you don't want to get hurt running. That's probably a great reason to want a little more knowledge about it. And I also know you look out for your friends and other people, so that's great. And it benefits everybody to know this information. So that's today, Monday, March 28th. I want to thank our sponsors, Jonathan and Lynn Gilden. They are at the Gilden Group at Realty Pros. They can be reached at 386-451-2412 or thegildengroup.com. Again, they have the most 5-star reviews. They're excellent people. They're easy to talk to. They'll answer your questions. Give them a shout. 386-451-2412. Jonathan or Lynn Gilden. Great couple. Until then, be Max Fit and be Max Well.